like to introduce to you Coach Stimson. Coach is over at Naval Academy. She came from here where she was both captain of our swim team and rowing team at the same time, which was pretty neat to see. Went from here to Wesleyan to coach there, and now has been, she's really the one that coaches over at Navy, and Mike just kind of hangs out, does his thing. So,
great, thank you. Hi guys, how you doing? Good. I want to thank Mike. This is my third year back here, and it's been good therapy and public speaking. So I'm used to 2 hours a day with a megaphone in my hand, not 18 minutes in front of a group of people or streaming live on the internet. So this has been a good challenge for me. I wanted today's my title was the trials and tribulations of coaching fours, and when I first started thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today was maybe some of the technical aspects I've learned while coaching fours. But then a little voice in my head said, Nikki, you're going after Chris Korzanowski. Get over yourself. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that I've learned, though, and that's always something that after every practice almost at Washington College, Mike would get us together, and I don't know if the women here can attest to that still, but what did you learn today, And the fours have taught me so much over the years. I've been coaching at Navy since the 02-03 season. I was always the novice coach. And then over the years, when the Patriot League Championship became an official championship, the varsity 8, the second varsity 8, and the fours were the placing votes in that event. And in 07, when we had a volunteer coach finally, Mike asked me to exclusively coach the fours, and after the fall season, hand my novices over to our volunteer coach. And how many novice coaches do we have in the group? So quite a. So how many of you could pass over your novies after half of a year? Kind of a hard. You could. Maybe some of us could. Maybe some of us could. For me, that was like, you want me to do what? You want me to just give away my novices? But luckily that year we had a volunteer coach who was a Marine Corps captain. She had rowed at Harvard, so I was like, well, I think she knows what she's doing. She'll be okay. She'll be able to take it over. And I've been very lucky with the fours. They've made me look very good at Navy. We're lucky. We have very tough women, great athletes, and we also have a lot of depth on our team as well, which when it trickles down into the fours years, I get sometimes big ergs, not a lot of experience, and so that's my job to teach those guys how to row properly and then move them up into the upper boats. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was what I've learned, and slightly embarrassing stories, but I thought, why not? It's after 3 o'clock, and I'm going to teach you what I've learned. One of my most memorable seasons was the spring of 2010, so not too long ago. And my crew, we were going into the Patriot League Championship, and again, like I said, that's our big one. That's the biggest championship. That's our biggest race of the year. That year, I decided to have the women go out on the course a little bit before the regatta. I'm like, Mike, let's get them out. Let's wake them up, because if anyone knows midshipmen, they covet their sleep. They will sleep until the last second. I've seen women on our team fall asleep sitting up, and then, on a bench. And so I was like, let's get up, let's move them around. So we're in Cherry Hill. We launch my four. I said, all right, go out, loosen up, have a good row, and come back, and we'll get ready for the race. Not 5 minutes after launching my boat, my coxswain's on the dock. And when you have that happen, you're like, why are you here? So the coxswain's back, coach, ran over log, the fin is gone. I said, all right, let's get the boat out. We'll get it in slings. We'll figure something out. We go to the spare parts box. And Chris, I would admit to this even if you were not here. We had every fin possible except for pocock fins. And it's my fault because I should have checked the spare parts box before we left Navy. No pocock fin. So I'm like, all right. And this is one of those moments as a coach when you're like, you'd probably rather just go and curl up in fetal position and suck your thumb and just wish it would all go away. But everything's on you at this point. You need to figure out. These kids are depending on you. They're like looking at you, coach, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And you're like, okay, think. And you're looking around. We're looking around the race site. And there was a ton of trailers there. There had been a high school race there earlier the day before and continuing on that day. And our rival school, Bucknell, was right next to our trailer. And I look over at their trailer, and it was as if like the heavens had opened up and a ray of light shone on their trailer, and they had an extra four sitting on their trailer. And I said, Mike, maybe we could go ask them. Maybe we could ask if we could borrow their four. So he's like, all right. And he goes over, and he asks their coaches, hey, can we borrow your four? They said, yeah, no problem. Because I think that's one of the nicest things about this sport is that our community is so close-knit, and asking for equipment like that is totally fine. So they lend us the boat. We're rigging it up, and it's a Hudson. and I've never rowed in a Hudson. I've never coached crews in a Hudson. So I'm like, all right, we'll be all right. This will be good. We'll be fine. So my crew comes over. We're rigging the boat up. And they're looking at it. Like, Coach, this shell's a little bit more narrow than ours, than our pocock. I'm like, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be great. It'll be great. They can barely set up their own pocock. And I'm looking at this Hudson that's more narrow. I'm like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So we're rigging it up. We're trying to giggle. Like, someday we're going to look back on this and laugh. This will be great, you know. And, you know, then emotions start building up, and I'm like, you got to keep your cool. You got to keep your cool, because I've sat in, you know, so many of these great seminars. I've listened to so many great coaches, and they've always said, never let the kids know you're nervous. So it's on me. It's like, it's still on me at this point. I have to be the leader. I have to show them everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. So we get hands-on. They go out for the race, and Mike comes over to them, and he goes, hey, guys, you're going to do great. Have a great race. Hey, is that a Vespoli? And they go, no, it's a Hudson. He goes, oh, that's going to be great. And I almost died laughing. I knew exactly what he was doing at that moment. Because Mike is he's the king of positive affirmation. So he was just trying to get them pumped up. Like, you're going to be fine. You know, that's great. You know, we never row in Hudsons. What are you talking about? But it was a really cool moment. And they were like, okay. So they launch. They're safely past the scary log. They head up to the race course, and it was probably the longest 45 minutes of my life, minus childbirth probably. And at that point, Mike comes over and he goes, Nikki, are you okay? And I go, yeah, I'm fine. And then I go into a porta potty. And it would be so much cooler if I told you guys I threw up, but instead I cried. You know, at that point it was like, all right, let me just get out of the situation, close the door, and I just cried and just let it out, and you know, just didn't want the women to see me. So pull myself together, head over, and I watched the race come down. And during their warm-up, apparently, my crew was like, oh yeah, Coach, it was fine. Both felt great, but you don't know that. You know, you're waiting on the shoreline, and that's the craziest thing about our sport sometimes is you launch them, and then they're out of your hands. And sometimes that's cool, because then, you know, if you're in Philly, you can go to the Temple Parents Tent and get one of those, you know, sausage and egg sandwiches, which is great. But, you know, for the most part, you're like, okay, you know, you're out of my hands, go for it. And they said the warm-up went great, and we're watching the race come down, and lo and behold, they win the race. And so that is probably one of my most memorable moments, and one of my, you know, not like it was a great teaching moment, but it was also, I'd been prepared for this, because I have had the pleasure of being, you know, coached by Mike Davenport. I get to hang out my cues all the time and get to hang out with a lot of great coaches during our summer camps. And you hear a lot of this great advice, and it's true. You know, you got to keep your cool, you got to hold it together, because they're going to sense it. So that's probably one of my most favorite coaching stories. That same year, the week later, was coming the ECAC championships, and you know, Bucknell was going to be there again, and we were ranked pretty high in the race. We're like, all right, we won the Patriots, let's go, let's win ECACs. So that all whole week, we're getting ready for it, we're preparing, and this is kind of funny because it kind of falls in line with Mike's narcissist coach, because I remember that weekend was going to be warm, and I wanted to switch things up a little bit. I'm a little bit of a fashionista, I'm not going to lie. So I wanted to make sure I looked nice, because there was an awards dock at the ECAC championship. So if my crew wins, I wanted to make sure I was looking good. So I wore a skirt to the event. And for those of you who don't know what a skirt is, it is a combination of shorts and a skirt. It's feminine yet functional. So I wear the score, we're at ECACs, we're back in our own boat, and the crew comes off the line, they have a great heat, they're in the final, and they get second in the final to Bucknell. And you know, we meet after the race, and this is obviously another lesson I've learned: don't wear a skirt to a regatta. The other lesson I've learned was, you know, talk to your team. And one of my phrases, I guess I've been saying this a lot lately, is don't let the inmates run the asylum. And I said to my guys, what happened? What's going on? You got them last week. They go, Coach, they row at a higher stroke rate, so we thought we had to row at a higher stroke rate. And I was like, why? You don't practice at a higher stroke rate. You never raced at that higher stroke rate. What are you thinking? You got to row your own race. You got to practice like you race, and that's another, I'm sure you guys have heard that one quite a bit. So Mike, basically I've been stealing all of Davenport's material, in case you guys haven't realized. So we have another couple weeks of training. We have the Eastern Sprints. So it comes back down to the Eastern Sprints. Once again, Bucknell is there as an invited guest. And they finally got it down. They finally rode their race, and they ended up winning the petite final, beating Bucknell. So it was a really cool way to end that season, and a great learning curve for them. And it's very important, going back to the running the asylum, I think it's very important for you to have great communication with your crews. you know, and I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky at Navy where the women feel very comfortable coming to me and talking with me. And the more you can not only teach them and get what you want out of them, but also get them to understand why you want them to race the way they should be racing is also very, very important. So those are probably the two biggest things that I've learned is always check your spare parts box, don't get cocky, and communicate with your crew. So not too bad. I was 12 and a half minutes last night, so I did pretty well. One more Turkey story, if you guys want to hear one, is a couple years ago. This has nothing to do with fours, so we can talk about fours if you guys want in a few minutes. A couple years ago, I had to take a biology of birds class at Wesleyan to finish up my master's degree. And my team always teases me about that, because I can never look at birds differently ever again. If I see some kind of strange bird, I'll stop everyone and we'll have to look at it. And I was recruiting down at Bull Run in the Westfield School. And all of a sudden, we're going along the launch. I'm trying to look like, you know, big-time Division I coach, you know, really serious, watching the crews. And all of a sudden, this bald eagle flies overhead. And I go, oh my gosh, is that a bald eagle? And the coach was like, yeah, here all the time, you know. And we're not, you know, I'm not always the super cool, you know, Division I coach. And I think very approachable. We love getting phone calls from people. We love, you know, interacting. Again, I think that's the other really neat thing about this sport is that it is such a tight-knit community. So that's all I got. I'm very short-winded, so I've probably helped make up some time. Thank you. Sure.
So, the first time to be like Scott.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you make sure that they know that they're working?
When they get faster. But you have to do special things. How many fours do you have generally? Just the one? Three? Okay, so then, you know, again, making them fast makes it really cool. That's how we were Navy when I took over the fours. It was like, oh, I didn't make the varsity 8, I didn't make the 2B, I'm in the 4. And, but then we started going, you know, going faster, and that made it a really cool boat to be in. And even the B4, if those two boats can really duke it out during practice, I think that makes the experience much more special. Hopefully that helps. So, yeah. No, at Navy you have to do either a club sport, an intramural, or a varsity. So we're covered throughout the year. So, yes, Mike. I know, he's like my dad. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.